We just finished our first Virgin Voyages cruise. In this video, we'll explore the 3 areas of Virgin's reputation to see if they're fact or fiction. At the end of this video, we'll discuss other factors that are different from other cruise lines so that you can see if Virgin is the right cruise for you. Hi y'all, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Becky.
And together we're a cruising good time.
So Virgin Cruise Lines, they advertise that they're the best cruise at sea for restorative, luxury, relaxing vacation. However, when many people hear Virgin, they think about like 3 other things. They have wondered about is Virgin only for young people? They hear about Virgin have this amazing food experience that's different from all the other cruise lines. And they kind of hear a lot of stories about, is Virgin kind of a swingers cruise with a lot of upside down pineapple people? And in this video, we're going to discuss all 3 of these things, as well as other factors that you may want to know more about it, so you can make the best decision if Virgin is the right cruise line for you. So first, let's talk about age.
Let's talk about the age. And I was surprised. We thought it was kind of bimodal. There's a group of people that were probably, in the 40s or so?
35 average, maybe?
Yeah, 35, 40 average. And then there's another group that were old. I mean, they were in their 70s, late 60s, 70s, some scooters on board and all that. I was really kind of surprised about that. I was expecting to be one of the older ones on the board and see a bunch of young people running around.
I have to say that we felt like we were in the younger half of the whole amount of people that are aboard Virgin.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that was kind of a surprise for me.
It was a surprise for me as well.
So I guess if you're worried that you're too old for Virgin, the answer is no. There's a wide age distribution aboard the ship. Another part of Virgin's reputation is on dining. They are known for having this amazing specialty dining that you do not have to pay any more for. In other cruise lines, you'll have to pay for them.
Yeah, on board the Scarlet Night, there were 6 of these different types of restaurants. They all had a little bit different type of theme. One was an Italian, a steakhouse, Korean barbecue, so on and so forth. Some were kind of unique in the sense of like the test kitchen. They had a set menu, and you kind of felt like you're in a special environment, taste different flavors together and all that. I didn't find the dining to be on the caliber of a specialty dining restaurant on other cruise lines we've been on. We've been on 6 other cruise lines. Specialty dining is always a little bit tier above the main dining room. And I was disappointed in that case because each one of the restaurants had only about 3 different items on the menu, and they didn't change throughout the whole cruise. And the quality of food and the service was not on par with specialty dining I've had on other cruise lines.
Yeah, I completely agree. And as Jeff mentioned, we've been on 6 other lines, and their specialty dining restaurants are better than what these restaurants on Virgin were.
The other thing I was disappointed with Virgin was making the reservations. They advertise you make the reservations 45 days in advance. We log in 45 days in advance of the cruise, and all the reservations are gone. We had a choice of eating at 9:45 at night, and that was it. And that was just really disappointing because I don't want to eat at 9:45 at night. They did, to their credit, make some changes once we got on board to give us some seating times at the 6, 6:30, 7 o'clock time frames. But it was really a challenge to chase all that down, and you shouldn't have to do all that.
Yeah, so it wasn't as easy as what we thought it'd be. And then we were disappointed, but the bar had been set high, and the restaurants just really didn't meet it. Another part of the restaurants, though, is the galley. So this is different. So Virgin Cruise Line does not have a buffet. They have an area called the Galley, and it has several different restaurants that you can eat at in their galley, or several little cook stations. But it's kind of like an upscale food court.
Yeah.
So, and maybe this was supposed to appeal to younger diners?
I guess so, because it's like eating in the mall food court. Once again, you have like a taco station, a noodle house. They have a little steam table that made a different meal every day. But the menus didn't change day to day, and you still had like a choice of the hamburger or vegetarian hamburger, and then whatever special hamburger they're making that day. it was just like eating in a food court. The good side is it wasn't a buffet where everybody's handling all the food and all that stuff, which I don't like about a buffet. Just when the employees were handling the food only. So that was better, but it just, after a 2-week cruise, it got really long in the tooth on the changes that you could have on the food. At the end of the day, what I really missed was a main dining room, like on other cruise ships, that would have a menu that changed every day.
With many options.
With many options.
Every time you sat down, you had many options about what you're going to eat. So the main dining room usually has so many more options that any restaurant we went to on the specialty dining ones.
Yep.
And the galley was kind of different. And the galley food was pretty good. And they would sometimes, and all of these would sometimes have a daily special. But however, some of the daily specials were the same more than one night in a row.
Yeah.
So we don't know if it's the same throughout the whole cruise. I had another one. I did hear a new thing with the special. Yep. So not positive how often this one thing that's different on the menu per course is different from day to day.
And on one upside, they did serve prime rib one night in the galley as well. I didn't know that, but it's on the daily lineup today, and they said they were going to have prime rib in the galley. So, and it was decent prime rib.
Yeah, there was a big line when we got up there, but it moved pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that night, another thing about the galley is not all of the galley is open during dinner time.
Yeah, they had a couple nights were up there for dinner, and they had 2 or 3 of the different stations just shut down cold. They'd already cleaned up and knocked off for the day. So you just had even more limited choices of what to eat. The other reputation that Virgin Voyages has is one about the upside-down pineapple. I'll let you Google what that means, but we did not see anything that was really out of the ordinary behavior of all the cruise patrons that are on board the ship, or we didn't see any upside-down pineapples on any of the doors walking down the hallway or anything like that. So nothing there that we saw at all to go with that type of reputation.
As promised, we're going to talk about other factors about Virgin Cruise Line. So no discussions complete without discussing entertainment.
And the first part of the entertainment is the Red Room. The Red Room is basically their theater. It's a 2-story type environment at the front of the ship. And they had some production shows in there, comedians or, some dance stuff and all in there as well. It's multi-purpose. It's kind of, they had some stadium seating where you'd sit down, and the seats are actually pretty comfortable, but they could fold those back, kind of like high school bleachers, and just put them back against the wall and make a big floor on there. And they had some production shows that took up the whole thing. So patrons would stand up, and a show would kind of be going on around them. And that was really kind of a neat environment there. We watched that one from above. But then the rest of the time, we're down in theater seating, and it was good seating. And the production shows Virgin had, we saw 2 of them. And they're both extraordinary. They're both very, very good production shows.
They were. And they also would have comedians in there. And occasionally they had pulled back the chairs and they had a dance area. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a good studio.
Yep.
One thing we noticed is that if you wanted to see a show in the Red Room, you'd better get in line at least 30 minutes before the show began and be prepared to stand around for at least 30 minutes in order to get a seat.
Yep. There's a lot of standing in line on Virgin Cruise Lines, and we'll get into that here more in a little bit. But to get into the Red Room, you better be ready to stand in line, especially for the more popular shows.
Yeah, for at least 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Another entertainment venue they had was called the Manor. So the Manor was kind of cute. Mm-hmm. It looked like a little cafe, and they could lower the stage, etc. It's much, much smaller than the Red Room. And we saw comedians in there. Yep. They had several different dance numbers, a game show, etc. And I loved the venue when you're downstairs. Now, if you were upstairs, very, very limited seating, and all of it had not such terrific views. But downstairs was cool. However, it was very popular, and here it was even harder to get into. So we'd been in line 30 minutes more than once, and we couldn't get a seat.
Yep.
So you need to be there like 45 minutes ahead of shows, especially if it's any of the ones that have like the drag queen productions. Yeah. Then the lines will even be longer trying to get in. So, but there was some good entertainment, and now they also had like some dance classes that they had during the day. which I was really sorry that I couldn't go to those. I love going to dance classes. So they have like the LOL Supper Club in the Manor, where they have two comedians that are going to perform. And truthfully, this was one of my very favorite meals as far as the food goes, was here at the Manor. And I really enjoyed the comedians. But I must say, it is adult entertainment as soon as it starts. It's not like the other cruise ships that give you G-rated humor early in the evening. They are always, adult humor, I guess, like maybe R-rated.
Yep. It's definitely
but very
R-rated.
funny. The ship also had this cool thing called the Social Club that had a tremendous amount of board games, and they had some table shuffleboard. It had a lot of great things, and it was amazingly popular. When I would go up to it, I frankly didn't go in because I'm really afraid of huge crowds because I don't want my arm to be bumped. So that was kind of sad for me that I couldn't go in. On a side note, it looked like it had very uncomfortable tables and chairs.
Yeah, they were not very comfortable chairs, and it was very small and very popular. So it was just really disappointing because we couldn't really do a whole lot in there. We wanted to do a lot in there, and it just really disappointed that they had such a small area for that. They also had some entertainment in some of the bar areas, kind of lounge type background music where they have solo artists or duos or trios out there playing some songs. They are good quality musicians and pretty typical for what you may find in some other cruise ships.
I was kind of surprised because I thought the music was time frames from like when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So I would have expected more modern music aboard the ship, frankly.
And also some of the music they played, their covers on it were kind of slowed down, a little more mellow than what you would normally hear for that type of music. So,
for those of you who follow us, Jeff and I love to dance, although we didn't do any dances on the last couple cruises. This cruise didn't really have like a lot of dance floors. No. So for dancing, of course, at the Scarlet party that they had dancing, they had dancing during the Halloween party in the Red Room. Mm-hmm. And occasionally late at night, they'd have the DJs going in the Manor and there'd be dancing there.
Right.
And for the DJs, now they typically played kind of newer music, but they also seem to synthesize it and make it kind of different than how it's released for the radio.
Yeah. There wasn't any live music for dancing. Like, you go on other cruise lines and the lounge act, the bar act would actually have a little dance floor there, and you can maybe be able to do a little dancing right there with that. And there's none of that on this cruise ship, which I found kind of interesting. There's only disc jockey dancing late at night. And then one thing Virgin Voyages is real famous for is the Scarlet Night. They have one of these on board every cruise, and no different on this one. And that was a lot of fun. Everybody did wear some red on there, and you saw some pretty elaborate outfits actually on there. And it was a lot of fun. They had a big dance area in the Red Room up there, and then up on the pool area, they had a big kind of show with all the staff dancing around the outside of the pool area. You could go up there and watch them. Then they invited people to come dance in the pool. The pool on the Virgin has, it's not a very big pool, but there's kind of like a wading area. It's like ankle deep on either side of it. And then the pool itself's only about 4 or 5 feet deep. And people would get in that shallow area and kind of dance and splash right there. And then, of course, some of the people would get in the water too. And then outside of the pool, you had some people out there just kind of going, they had the music going. So everybody's just kind of jamming a little bit right there. So it was a fun time.
I think that was the highlight of the trip for a lot of people. One of the entertainment items that Virgin really had was so many exercise classes for free. Mm-hmm. So if you are a big workout nut, this may be an awesome cruise for you.
There was plenty of opportunities to work out with interval training and all sorts of stuff out there, yes.
Next, we're going to talk about the ship. So this ship is not huge. It's about a 110,000-ton ship. And it contains a little less than 2,800 passengers, when it's full capacity. So not tremendously huge. And you keep in mind that, so there will not be a ton of things going on all the time, but part of that is just for ships this size, there's going to be, a little less activities than on mega ships.
And they did a pretty good job with flowing passengers around, with the exception of having to stand in line for the venues. You never really felt that crowded.
Yeah, I think they did a terrific job that you didn't feel crowded when aboard the ship. I think this is a huge plus that really adds to that discussion about luxury and relaxation.
One thing I did not like about this ship was it seemed to be really designed for short people. I'm pretty tall. I'm about 6'7",
2 meters.
and there was a lot of doors I had to duck through to go in and out. The shower head is real short, and the furniture was really short. There was a lot of chairs. I'd sit down in a chair, and I felt like I was back at when my daughter was in first grade, going to the parent-teacher conference, sitting in a little chair in the conference room. There was ridiculous how low some of these chairs were, so I didn't quite understand all that. But I mean, the decor of the ship was all right, and a little dark for my taste, but it was all right.
Yeah, and the pool area. So the Lido deck is huge for me. So they have the pool. Then it's 5'1" deep, which isn't great for swimming anyway, and it's small. There's very little area to swim. Yep. There's a lot of area, to walk, wade in. And they had a lot of beach chairs, though, a lot of lounge chairs around it. So that was kind of a good thing as far as lounge chairs, that when we went up, we did not have trouble getting a lounge chair, even one in the shade. And a lot of people really love those like beds that you could lay out on. They're supposed to be really comfortable.
One thing I was missing from around the Lido deck, in my opinion, were just some tables and chairs, because I don't always want to lay down and chase. Sometimes I just like to have my computer up there. I need to do a little work on the channel. I'll just sit at a table and chair by the pool, still take in the sunlight and be outside. There's none of that on the deck at all. You weren't going to sit outside and enjoy a table and chair at all.
Yeah, and they had on some other areas, like on deck 7, they had a lot of nice lounge chairs that you can lay out. And several times we were out doing work on a lounge chair on deck 7. But it was interesting that there was no wait staff that came.
Yeah.
And there's no way to like order a drink at an app. So if you wanted something, we had to go in and go across the ship a distance to get a beverage of choice.
You had to go from midship all the way to the forward to get that was the closest bar.
And back on Lido deck, they did have like a secondary pool kind of area, but it looks like it's more for just sitting in. And they had some hot tubs, and the hot tubs always were full.
Yeah. So on the cabin, we had a terrace cabin, which is balcony cabin, lack of a better word. And it was decent sized cabin, pretty typical on square footage. I had a walk-in shower with the door, which is nice. It was a little short on the head space, but the bed was just a regular king bed. It supposedly could be configured into a couch and all that, but we just didn't ask the room steward to keep coming in and changing it, so we didn't do anything with there. It only had one chair to sit in and a small little desk right there. The lighting on it was really strange. It had you could do all sorts of light changes with the iPad there, and we'll have a video coming out later on to show you the cabin tour on that. But it was really dark. If you wanted just a good bright morning, it was hard to get a lot of light in that room. And I know, Becky, you complained a lot that you didn't have enough light for makeup right there on the desk. There wasn't a makeup light on the desk.
Yeah.
And that was very frustrating for you.
Yeah, I keep my makeup in that area and not in the bathroom. So I would grab a piece and go into the bathroom to put in makeup. Yeah, I thought I was very disappointed that it didn't have the sofa. And it specifically says you could ask your room steward to make it a sofa during the day. But that just seemed like very inconsiderate to do, to ask him to come change our bed configuration twice a day.
Yeah.
That's...
Especially since they only had service once a day, is what the standard to get with Virgin is they'll make it up once a day.
And I would like to say that we had awesome room stewards, and they took good care of us, but we didn't want to be a rude, inconvenient guest. So on Virgin, I do love that you can get some Wi-Fi for free. It's the classic level. So I had the classic level Wi-Fi, and I have to say it was really slow, even for like playing Wordle from the New York Times.
Yeah, the connection on the classic Wi-Fi was absolutely terrible. I had upgraded to the middle one, the premium, and it was bearable. It wasn't super fast. I was able to do a couple Teams calls, but I had to keep my camera off because of the bandwidth.
Yeah, and it certainly did not have enough upload speeds to support our channel.
So one thing Virgin does have is a wristband, a little device they'd put on your wrist with a little cord right there. You use that to unlock your door. You have to actually tag it to the door to unlock it. And you could buy drinks with it. The waiter or bartender would use their iPad to kind of touch the device, know who you are, and go with that. It wouldn't do any type of location services like what you get with the Princess Medallion. That was disappointing because kind of resort back to text messages to find each other on board the ship if you separate and go different ways. And so it was an improvement over a card key, not as good as a full medallion.
Another big thing that Virgin advertises is that they don't have announcements all day long aboard the ship. And it's true, they don't.
Yep.
I did kind of miss getting an announcement where they tell you around noon where you are, ship's location, how we're avoiding the storm, etc. But they gave us just a need to know information. And when they did need to discuss it, though, they would just put it across the app.
Yeah. Yeah, the app was really good about getting the notifications on there. Actually, of all the cruise lines I've been on, it was the best in terms of getting notifications across your screen of, hey, your dinner reservations in a half hour, shore excursions tomorrow, you got to meet at 9 o'clock, so on and so forth. You got all these little notifications in there. And that was really handy compared to a lot of other apps we had on other cruise lines. The other thing I liked about the Virgin app was it was real easy to see what they call a lineup, which is just all the events going on during the day. That was real easy to scroll through. It came on the home page, so you'd have to go down several different pages to find out what was going on, anything like that. And all the your dining reservations, your shore excursions, everything showed up in your version of that app, so you knew what was going on right there. And it would keep you from double booking. So if you had a dinner reservation, you tried to make another dinner reservation before canceling the first one, it'd say, nope, you already have a dinner reservation. So it had a little bit of intelligence with it too.
So I find this subject kind of fascinating because we've been on different cruise lines and we thought this app was pretty good. We were talking to a cruiser, and this is the first big cruise line that they'd been on, and they're in the tech industry, and they were very dissatisfied with the app. So obviously the app has room to be better. And I guess part of the reason that we liked it is that we have seen other apps that have just more room to be better. On Virgin's advertising, they do really stress about how wonderful they are for relaxation. And I do think that the ships have a lot of places that you can lay back and relax and just,
just chill.
Unwind.
Yeah.
So I do believe that the ships are great for that, and they just have a lot of room on board so that you can do these different things. We haven't discussed one of the most important topics about the ship, and that is the people.
Mm-hmm.
The crew aboard the Scarlet Lady are so very, very nice, professional, helpful. They're just really awesome.
Let's talk about embarkation and debarkation for a moment, because this is really sad in my mind. The embarkation for us took an hour and 45 minutes in Barcelona. And for context, we did side-by-side cruises. So we did a Star Princess. We boarded on October 4th. From the time we got out of the cab to the time we went through all the rigmarole to get through immigration and everything else and get on the gangway was 17 minutes. 10 days later, we get on the Virgin Voyages. It was an hour and a half before we got on the ship, and it was all just standing in a line. So it wasn't Barcelona port. People saying it was because of Barcelona. No, it wasn't, because Barcelona we excluded by doing the study the way we did of 2 back-to-back cruises in Barcelona. So it was not Barcelona that caused it. It had to be Virgin Voyages that was causing us standing around in line. And then later on out the cruise, we find out, well, you got to stand in line to go to the venues. You got to stand in line over here. There's a lot of standing in line standing in line for shore excursions. There's just a lot of standing in line on Virgin Voyages. We get to the debarkation. Well, guess what? You get to debark whenever you want, and everybody pretty much chooses the same time. So what happened? There's a lot of standing in line to get off the ship as well. So that was really disappointing with the line standing that we had on Virgin Voyages.
Well, and on disembarkation, it was a little more than that for us because we purchased the shore excursion where they were going to take us from the ship to the airport. So then they had sent us a text to say, show up with all your luggage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, normally you leave your luggage outside. So I'm like, hey, we had planned to leave our luggage outside. And they're like, oh, let me get back with you to see if you can do that. And then they wrote back, yes, it's fine. You may leave your luggage outside your door and then come down, and that would be fine. So the information was confusing to me, and by the way, whoever I wrote had to go find out the answer to it.
Yeah.
And then also, when it came time to where they told us to stand, they had that area roped off on all sides.
Yes.
So we kind of stood there going, well, I hate to break the rules and drop under one of these things that you're an area you're not supposed to be on, etc. And then one of the ship person told me, no, go over that way. And then when I went to the other area, they said, no, go to the area I first went to. And then we eventually got into the area we were supposed to wait. And I guess that was easy enough, but the whole thing felt weird and disorganized.
Truthfully, and all those problems could be solved. There's all sorts of consultants that specialize in efficiency of moving people around. There's a lot of organizations that move people around very well. They hire some consultants and straighten this out. There's no reason to have this. One of the things Virgin Cruise Lines brags about is being different. Being different just for the sake of being different is not good. Be different to be better. That's where you want to be different for. And I think Richard Branson would say that. They had all sorts of Richard Branson quotes, and I think that would be one that he would actually say. So, Becky, we're kind of hard on Virgin Voyages right here. Would you book them again?
There are so many cruise lines that I love and so many that I still want to book. So I definitely will go on again on Virgin sometime in the future. I think it'd be good to go on when, I'm not injured, so I'll be able to swim and dance and do things I love to do, go in the hot tub. But I think I'm going to hit a few other cruise lines before I come back to Virgin.
I feel the same way. I don't want to make a whole judgment on one cruise. That's not fair to anybody. We'll definitely give them a try sometime in the future. But like Becky said, we got a few bookings already in the queue here, so it'll be a while before we get back to them. But we will try them again for sure. So we'll have some other videos coming out about Virgin here in the next few weeks. One's going to be a ship's tour on a Scarlet Lady. We're going to do a video on our terrace cabin, and we're going to do a video on the dining on board the Virgin Voyages and get down a little more detail about our experiences on that. Check out the rest of our YouTube channel. We have a lot of information out there on different types of cruise lines, different destinations.
We hope you've enjoyed this video.
If you liked the video, please give us a like and subscribe and turn on those notifications. It really helps us out.
Until next time, have a cruising good time.